Earlier today, I did talk about how altcoins were showing a lot of strength against Bitcoin and ultimately starting to have a nice little run up in the market. In the last 7 days, HBAR is up about almost 12%. Nothing too crazy, obviously, because again, this is just a 12% push on the last 7 days, and everyone wants more. But I will say this, on the monthly and on the yearly, we are looking pretty good. I do have the USD chart open over here. We'll talk about that here in a second. But mainly, we do have a little bit more work to do when it comes to a lot of these altcoin charts. I do think that we're probably about a month out, maybe even 2 months out from retesting those January and December highs. And again, I'm very conservative when I say that because things can change so fast. I mean, just for reference, this is 4 weekly candles, okay? So this is just 1 month of price action, solid price action leading into the December highs. And that's where HBAR went from sub 5 cents to 38, almost 39 cents. So again, we can't say for certain when the time frame is going to be where HBAR is trading at 40 plus cents again, and breaking out of these highs and going into price discovery against the 2021 highs as well. We don't have a dead on time frame to really kind of predict here. All I'd know is that July is going to remain a very bullish month for crypto, in my opinion. Now, August, we do have to be very cautious about August simply because of the tariff discussions ongoing. But I do think that going forward, the remainder of this year should be pretty good for crypto. And I also think that's going to be pretty good for stocks as well. And HBAR is obviously one of those altcoins that I'm watching very closely because of how bullish I have been on HBAR and with all of the announcements happening around Hedera. Now, in terms of HBAR's price chart, this is the USD pair. This is what we currently look like on HBAR. We have a nice solid reaction off of that lower trend line. This trend we've been holding since going all the way back to November. We have that nice low back in April. And then we, of course, do have shallow higher lows. Again, it is still higher lows going off of those lows. And now we're starting to break to the upside off of the impulse move. And the main thing that I'm actually looking at here, now, I was looking at this more so on the weekly against the resistance here. The main thing that we want to see on HBAR is simply a break over the wicks of the previous highs. So in terms of like the 3-day candle body wicks, so these are the candle bodies up here at about roughly 21.5 cents. The candle body wick itself, aka the lick wick, is around 23 cents. This is what we actually want to break over to confirm a higher high against the May highs, and this would also give us a bullish structure on HBAR. This would allow us to retest the wick from back in March around roughly 28, almost 29 cents, and then from that point on, we basically just retarget the January highs, and then finally target the all-time highs going all the way back here to 2021 around 56, almost 57 cents. So, like I said, we do have a little bit of work to do here, but this is a very good start. Now, what's the chances that HBAR breaks out immediately above this upper trend line? Well, it's probably not a high probability. We probably hit this, reject a little bit, and then finally break above it. And it's going to take a little bit of time to actually retarget these May highs and get over them, but I do think that HBAR is showing a lot of strength right now. Even the Bitcoin pair as well is showing us this. We still have work to do. I know that you guys are probably going to hate me saying that, but it is just the truth. We need a lot more momentum here on HBAR, and I do think that we will get there. Listen, I have been focused on currently the altcoin season index around crypto. We are starting to have altcoins breaking out slightly against Bitcoin, even if we actually look at the top gainers and losers in the last 24 hours in the top 500. We're starting to see altcoins breaking out in a big way. Some of them are up 20 plus, percent levels in the last 24 hours, which is just crazy. For reference, right, XLM is actually up about 16.5% today alone. If we're thinking about 16.5% on HBAR, that would actually get it very close to retesting those May highs. So this could happen very fast, or it could take a little bit of time. It's completely unknown to what is going to happen next when it comes to altcoins, because it really is all just determined by what Bitcoin dominance does do. And in the last 30 days, Bitcoin dominance it's starting to look as though it wants to take that leap down. If we start to see that, and if we start to actually see Ethereum leading, which so far it has been in the last 7 days, in the last 24 hours, then we could start to see phase two really showing up, which will lead to altcoins going crazy. So right now, while HBAR is just kind of brewing here, I'm definitely watching this chart for any significant impulsive move. And what would an impulsive move look like in terms of the significance? Well, we want to see moves like this back in November, where we do have, and by the way, these are weekly candles or 3-day candles, sorry, not weekly candles, 64% push to the upside. This one was a 91% almost push to the upside as well. So if we got something like that, where it's like a 60 to 90% push to the upside, that would immediately clear the previous May highs. And if it's a 90% push, that's almost at the January highs already off of just one candle. If we got something like that, that's what I'm actually watching for. Any significant candle that gets us back to these levels, clearing, previous highs, creating higher highs on the chart, making bullish structure. That's what we want to see as an HBAR holder. Now, with that being said, what's been happening around Hedera that's actually pretty bullish that could help push us there? Well, we have been seeing a lot more focus from some pretty significant exchanges. Kraken Exchange actually just announced that HBAR will be landing on Kraken tomorrow, the 10th. This is actually very exciting because it shows us that there's still listing opportunity for HBAR. And Kraken Exchange, listen, this is one of the largest exchanges in crypto, 1.6 million followers. And when we actually look at the top exchanges, Kraken is number 14. They have about almost $1 billion in 24-hour trading volume, 1.1 plus million weekly visits as well. Like I said, Kraken is a massive exchange. And now they're adding support for HBAR. They have been really kind of marketing HBAR over the last couple days as well. If we actually go over to their profile real quick, we have here, let me just scroll down because I know that they posted it earlier yesterday. It seems as though they're actually pretty active on socials. But they were posting quite a bit about HBAR and just really kind of marketing this launch of HBAR on their platform, but I can't seem to find it now. But they were earlier. And again, this is just a very large exchange that's adding HBAR. And we also did get an announcement around Metal Pay as well. Now, this is one of those platforms I actually am not really aware of, but they do have over 72,000 plus followers. They also added HBAR to their platform today, or actually this was yesterday. But again, this is just more overall market exposure to HBAR, which is very bullish to see. And it's at a time where we are also starting to see ETF discussions around Hedera also picking up. You guys probably already know about the Bloomberg analyst releasing their overall projections on when we see an ETF this year, and HBAR was around 90%. I also think that that's right on par, considering the fact that if we go back to the altcoin listings, HBAR is sitting at about roughly 18. It has been making a lot of noise. The community around Hedera has been growing significantly. And of course, HBAR is in high demand. If we actually think about HBAR in the last 1 year, the gains here are still up over 150 plus percent. During this pushback here in January, I think that we were over 300 plus percent of a gain on HBAR from the lows. So when we think about the demand around Hedera, it is very significant. And when we think about ETFs, we also have to think about enterprises and institutional players. HBAR's focus from those two is also at all-time highs because, again, we've been seeing so many major moves happening around the Fortune 500 area with enterprises tapping into Hedera. We've also been seeing AI moves happening, tokenization moves, and of course, enterprise just love Hedera for the tech behind it. And then also institutional players, right? Institutional players have been tapping into Hedera for, specific things, tokenization, stablecoin initiatives. So this is just a very bullish year for Hedera, which of course leads me to Grayscale, right? Because again, this is where we start to see the ETF discussions really heating up. Grayscale released their quarterly rebalance, and they did add a few tickers to their Grayscale smart contract platform fund, and HBAR was added to this. Now, HBAR actually did replace Polkadot, but we have over here from Hedera Foundation, Grayscale, the world's largest digital asset focused investment platform, has added HBAR to the Grayscale smart contract fund. This was very bullish because, again, it is a weight of 5.8%, right on par with Avalanche and even Sui. Now, again, with ADA, Solana, and Ether, they are a very large stack of this fund. But again, having HBAR added to this is very exciting. And Grayscale is massive. I mean, 660 plus thousand followers. This is great exposure to Hedera. So when we think about this, right, top 14 exchange adding Hedera to its platform, on top of MetalPay adding Hedera to its platform yesterday. And then now Grayscale also adding Hedera to its Grayscale smart contract platform fund. You just really have to look at this and say, interesting. Hedera is starting to make a lot of noise for itself, and it's starting to grow into a very significant project. And this is something that I've been voicing for the last couple months. I mean, Hedera Foundation, 130, almost 5,000 followers. Hedera themselves, over 440 plus thousand followers. So the overall market exposure to Hedera from the community side is, 500,000. And that's just on X. Hedera is making a lot of waves. And by the way, we also have over here from Mark Chadwick X. This is massive for HBAR. Breaking: Grayscale removes Polkadot and adds Hedera to their smart contract platform fund. In accordance with the CoinDesk Smart Contract Platform Select Capped Index methodology, Grayscale has adjusted GSC funds portfolio by selling Polkadot and existing fund components in proportion to their respective weightings, and using the cash proceeds to purchase Hedera HBAR and existing fund components in proportion to their respective weightings. So they sold Polkadot, they shifted into HBAR, and we have, as a result of the rebalancing, DOT was removed from the GSC fund and HBAR was added to the GSC fund. At the end of the day on July 3rd, 2025, GSC funds fund components were a basket of the following assets and weightings. As of July 2025, Grayscale Investment manages roughly $23 billion in crypto assets across its flagship public funds. This is a major boost of confidence in Hedera, and it definitely is. Listen, having a name like Grayscale flipping on Polkadot, adding Hedera, shows how confident they are on Hedera. Right now, if we actually look at the top crypto projects, let's go back to the list real quick. So DOT used to be like a top 15, top 20 project. It's now at 23. But if we go all the way back to 2021, I mean, this was a massive year for, DOT. First off, the DeFi market was red hot back here. But if we think about Polkadot sitting at $55 compared to where it is right now, you're talking about over like $70 billion in market cap for Polkadot back in 2021. With HBAR, right? We got to go back to HBAR real quick, because currently speaking, Hedera has a market cap of $7.2 billion. This is why I said, almost $2 for HBAR this cycle makes a lot of sense. You're looking at almost an $80-90 billion market cap for Hedera. That's not that crazy to think about, especially at a time where we're starting to see Grayscale, one of the largest players in the space, flipping on Polkadot, which was back in 2021 a massive winner, and now they're looking at Hedera. And by the way, you might be questioning, why are they looking at Hedera? Well, we talked about it, right? Enterprise, institutional focus. Yeah, it's very simple. But what about all of the big pushes from Hedera themselves this year? All of the new GC members, all of the partnerships with Fortune 500 companies, also the launch of the AI studio, the stablecoin studio, the tokenization studio, all of the tokenization announcements. I mean, Hedera has been absolutely killing the game, and we're 7 months in. 2025 has been probably one of the biggest years for a lot of these altcoins. I understand that price action hasn't been very great in the last year, but all of this price action, right? You might not think about it, or you might not even see it, but all of this price action from those highs, okay, all of this is consolidation. We've been consolidating for 174 days, and during this 174 days, Hedera has been making more noise than ever before. So when we think about price action, when we actually start to break out, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of comments on the channel or even on X saying, why is HBAR pumping right now when we're over, 40 plus cents and we're in price discovery and we're going crazy and we're targeting $1, targeting even $2? Everyone's going to be asking why is HBAR doing this? Like, what's going on? And at that time, I'm just going to say one thing. I'm going to say it's all pressure. It's all pressure that's now getting expanded, because for the last 6 months or so, we have been seeing Hedera making headline articles every single other day. Tokenization, DeFi, AI, stablecoins, all of these things are happening around Hedera. And it's happening very fast, which is also why I think Grayscale added Hedera in, replace of Polkadot. this is going to be a very exciting year for crypto, in my opinion. And I do think that Hedera, I think that this is going to be way bigger than the 2021 cycle for Hedera, for a lot of these altcoins as well. And I really do think that this is the year where Hedera is now on the map. Listen, it's not just that, project that doesn't have marketing, that the ecosystem is still very early, because that was back in 2021. Okay. 2021 around Hedera, the supply got absolutely inflated. Right now we're at almost 43 billion out there in circulation. Total supply 50 billion. So almost all the supply is out there. Okay, the ecosystem is extremely populated now. The community is massive. The marketing is going crazy. I mean, this is a completely different Hedera than what we had back in 2021. And by the way, 2021 was still very successful. I talked about it, 50x off of the lows to the highs. Very successful year for Hedera, even though it was still very fresh. Now, you're talking about a project that had so long to build and expand, and they definitely did utilize that time for their advantage. So right now, I do think that HBAR is definitely one of the most bullish projects in this space to watch, and I do think that this is going to be a crazy cycle for HBAR as well once we start to see altcoins really break out, which I do think that we're getting very close to that. And I think that it's very clear just looking at like the Bitcoin pairs and even looking at the altcoin index, as well as looking at Bitcoin dominance. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because of more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.